Coming up here next is Keith Kellogg, U.S. Ambassador Kellogg, my dear friend, a special envoy for Ukraine. Whoops, there he is. He's right here. Okay, Keith Kellogg, so let's see. The Wall Street Journal says a new start for Trump on Ukraine. Let me ask you about that. Harder rhetoric will have to be followed by much harder policy toward Russia. Or, my friend Keith Kellogg, General Kellogg, is this, Mr. Trump basically sort of punching Putin in the nose and saying, look, you're not going to win in Ukraine. Let the Ukrainians keep whatever territory they can keep. In other words, how should Americans read this announcement by President Trump?
Yeah, Larry, thanks for having me today. Good to be with you. Look, two data points I want to start with real quick. Number one, President Trump's absolutely right when he says this. This is a war he inherited. It was not on his watch. It actually started under Obama in 2014 when the Russians invaded Crimea. Then it followed up under Biden. And President Trump inherited this. And he's done something that no other leader in the world, no other leader has done. He's reached out to Putin. He's reached out to Zelenskyy. He's reached out to Xi. He's reached out to all the leaders. He's met with them. He's talked to them on the phone. He's done something by being very aggressive in trying to terminate this war that nobody else has done. He needs to be given credit for that because it's massive. Number 2 point, which is really important, and this is important for people that are listening and looking in. This war is a major war. People need to understand that. This is a war of World War II proportions. When we're talking about the loss of life, we're not talking 100, 200, 1,000. We're talking hundreds of thousands of men and women have died in this war, both on the Russian side and the Ukrainian side as well. And the other point that is very important people to understand is there is a risk of escalation. What you just saw recently with the drones coming into Poland and the fighters coming over the Baltic Sea. Look what Sikorsky, the foreign minister, said of Poland said. He said, look, to the Russians, you have been warned. That's a clear statement that they will respond forcefully if necessary. And then it looks like it's internationalized. I had Machitaka Kano, who's the National Security Advisor for Japan. I talked to him yesterday up in New York City. He said, look, this thing has been internationalized on our side of the world as well because of what the Chinese have done and also what the North Koreans have done. So this thing has a huge potential to escalate if we don't watch out. And it's important that the president stays in the leadership role because he's the only one who can bring this to a close. Nobody else listens to him except the President of the United States. The other leaders may be out there, but he brings a lot of cachet, the weight of the military economically, diplomatically, and militarily. And I think people need to understand it, and they do. So his tone that he said just the other day up at UNGA, the UN General Assembly in New York City, was quite clear. And his frustration with Vladimir Putin is evident. And it wasn't just President Trump saying that. You had the Vice President Vance saying that when he was in North Carolina yesterday. You had Secretary Rubio say that. I was with Secretary Rubio in the UN Security Council when he made those comments. And here's what's interesting, sitting in the Security Council. I looked down to the Russians. They were just to the right of us. And they weren't paying any attention to any of the speakers, none. But when Secretary Rubio was talking, they listened. People listen when the United States of America talks. So this is a major effort. And I think the president is trying to say to everybody, look, until you, especially with the Russians right now, until you're serious about this, we can't get to the peace table. This war needs to be brought to an end. The damage is horrific. I've been into Ukraine more than any other U.S. official. I've been out there with them, talked to the leaders, talked to the people out there, and this war needs to end. We need to bring it to a close, and it's important for not only just Ukraine and Europe, but also the world.
All right, but Keith, let me ask you something. The president says Ukraine can take whatever territory back that it lost. Okay, whether they can or not, he's saying go on ahead and do it. He's tweaking Putin, and correctly so. He's trying to rally Europe and the rest of the world to stop buying oil from Russia, because that finances the war. And by the way, there's been some success, but we need much more to shut Russia down. Okay, I get that. Here you are telling us, emphasizing that this is a major war on the scale of World War II, okay? General Kellogg, I've known you a long time. When you say people should understand that this is a major war on the scale of World War II, what are you telling us? What message are you sending? Is there additional American action coming, as might be the case in a major war such as World War II?
No, you know, Larry, what I'm saying is that the rest of the world needs to understand what President Trump understands, that this is a significant war going on, and they need to come together. They need to go after the petrostate, which Russia is, to somehow decrease their economic power that they've got, which I think he's going to do. There's also the military issue and the diplomatic issue as well. So bringing that all together, and the only one who's brought that together is President Trump, and he needs to do that because we just have to make sure we don't get into a level of escalation, and that can happen. And that's not where you want to be, because if you escalate this thing, you have no idea where it's going to go. Because once you start going up an escalation ladder, you better be very ready to go to the next step. President Trump understands it. You and I were in the first term. We saw what President Trump did, and I remember a lot of times people warned him against certain actions going on. When he moved the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, he was told, and I heard him being told, that you're going to have an intifada, the third intifada. He said, no, that's not going to happen. Same thing he went with Soleimani. He's got incredible instincts, and he knows what he needs to get done, and you see that in his verbiage as well.
All right, I got it. Special Envoy and Ambassador General Keith Kellogg, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it very much.